Dear students, welcome to my class. It's me, Rakesh Kumar Jha. Let's crack UPSC CSE exam with us. It is India's largest learning platform that gives you a lot of opportunity. We have daily live classes, structured courses, live tests and quizzes, unlimited essays. For all these things, you have to download Unacademy learning app. It's me, Rakesh Kumar Jha. I am Rakesh Kumar Jha. I'm an MA in Political Science from Ramjas College, Delhi University, PG Diploma in Journalism, Delhi University, MA Mass Communication, KU. I have also participated in different talk shows as an expert on All India Radio, Akashvani, New Delhi. I have also participated as a speaker in a number of national and international seminars. I have also received certificates and appreciations by the reputed organizations. I have successfully guided a large number of students, some of them IAS officer and police officer as well. My Telegram link is Rakesh Jha Discourse Academy. Unacademy profile link is Rakesh 7 Jha 8443. My philosophy is that be your own light, Atmadeepa Bhava. We have more than top 100 educators. We have also comprehensive syllabus, polity, governance, IR, geography, science, technology, NCERT summary, history, optional courses, environment, ecology, art and culture there, current affairs, Indian economy, practice, strategy, current affairs I will be taking. UPSC CSE subscription there for 1 month up to 6 months and 12 months out there. And definitely we do have plus course and iconic course. For 12 months definitely you will have save 54%, and for 24 months out there. Please apply my code RJ01. If you apply my code, then you will have 10% discount. So please apply RJ01 for 10% discount. And for all these things we do have live classes, test series, unlimited practice, a structured schedule, personal coach, daily mains and answer practice, study planner, personalized feedback. So all sort of things are there, and I hope that if you apply RJ01, definitely you will have a lot of understanding, and 10% discounts you will get. Okay, this is from me. And dedicated focus on optional subjects are there, like public administration, PSIR means political science and international, that I will be taking along with the other subjects as well. So what I have to say, that durations of from like for 1 month, 6 months and 12 months, 36 months, that the duration is there. And besides I am also taking live classes at Unacademy platform, that is of I am taking current affairs, right? Okay, so let's start political theory and Indian politics optional subject. Political theory and thinkers part 10. I am Rakesh Kumar Jha, civil services coach, author and motivational speaker. What I am telling you, that table of content is there, part 1 is there, and I have already mentioned all this table of content. It is UPSC syllabus that you have to see all the times, and I have already discussed the syllabus as well. So political theory and Indian politics part 1, political theory and thinkers there. Right now I am going to discuss about democracy, classical and contemporary theories that are very much important. Do you know that without democracy can you conceive the nation? No, because whether it is Indian state or other democratic state, this is the philosophy, this is the value, this is the thing that every country and every person should understand. So I can understand that, okay, if you try to understand all these things, it will have a better position. And without knowing the democracy, you cannot understand the political science. Political science backbone like democracy, equality, fraternity, human rights, a lot of topics are there, freedom is there. So this is also very important aspects of the political science. So what I can say you, dear students, please try to understand democratic values, democracy, the different perspective of democracy. This is a very important topic of the political science. Oftenly from this topic questions asked by the UPSC also, and this is also equally important in the GS paper also. And how political science is important not only in the GS paper, but also in the optional, or also in the essay paper as well. So what I can suggest you, dear student, don't worry if you read the things, because the beauty of political science is something like that. The theories and perspectives are there, but besides theories and perspective, what a candidate has to understand, one very important aspect that he or she has to understand, that he has to see, look and around the country, around the society. This is the beauty of political science. In your answer also you have to write different perspective of the democracy, what you are feeling, what you are not feeling, what it is good or what it is bad. So definitely it is going to help you. So I think let's start the democracy topic. And enjoy the topic. I hope that you definitely enjoy my class, because I have already discussed a lot of topics of the political theory that are already discussed and could available. These all videos are available on the YouTube. You can see this and you can also understand. Now let's see what is democracy. If I ask you as a layman, what do you know by democracy? Then democracy is the heated topic of debate since long time in political science as well as political philosophy, and a generally accepted view of democracy is yet to be obtained. Though it exists is in virtually all types of state in almost every region of the world, democracy is not a thoughtful institution design. It has evolved in Britain over several centuries. Democracy, ruled by the people, is an unrestricted form of government in which all inhabitants of a nation determine public policy, the laws, and the actions of their state together. So this is what the democracy, because it has nothing to do with the all sort of decisions and all, but definitely in the Britain, several centuries, over several centuries, this philosophy, this kinds of thing had developed. Not only this, democracy also is very important. So I can make you assure that you have to write all these nitty gritty, you have to write all those key points while dealing, while understanding all these things. So let's say democracy. Do you think that in our country democracy is existing? Yes, definitely, because we have certain rules, we have certain laws, and that is why we can proudly say that democracy. Because one also aspect that I have to share with you right now, that there are a lot of methods of the governing the state, like democracy is there, then socialism is there, communism is there, authoritarianism is there. I mean, there are lots of way, but why we feel that democracy is one of the best options? Definitely because it is the people's right, it is the rights of the people, and weaker sections also, that in a democratic form of government you have every right to express your views. That is the beauty of democracy, and without democratic value nothing can be achieved. And that is very important, and that is why we can proudly say yes, we do have our constitution, we do have our rules and regulations. That is why equality before law is there. In a democracy system, what happens, everything is out there. Yes, there are some lacunas are there are some shortcomings of every government system, but ultimately if you compare between all the systems of the government, then you can feel that the democracy is the most important aspect, and it is also one of the best examples of the governing system in the world that has been proven over a year and a year. So you have to understand in all the nitty-gritty. So dear students, you have to find out everything is out there, and you have to read good book, textbook should be there. You have to also incorporate the latest development through newspapers, magazines like Hindu newspaper, Frontline magazine, and the World Focus is there, EPW is there. By reading all these virtues, by reading all these news, what you can get, you can really incorporate your knowledge, you can enhance your knowledge, you can uplift your knowledge, because it is the test of knowledge, and the knowledge is ultimately must be reflected in your answer book. Right now we are discussing, you are a student and I am an educator. Just I am educating you, I am giving the knowledge, I am sharing my information. But ultimately what is the cause? Cause is very simple, that whatever the topic you are studying, whatever you are studying, it must be studied thoroughly. Thoroughly means you should not only study the my notes, rather you have to consult a lot of other things, so that you can have a good command on the topic, and writing is also very important. So let's say the democratic aspect I have just shared with you, and this is the democracy, and this is the some definitions how in the Britain over the last some few centuries it has happened, that you have to also evolve. So I can assure you that if you read one line by line, then you will definitely understand the democracy, and I hope that you will definitely understand all these things. So please try to understand in this all the nitty gritty, and I hope that everything you would be understanding, everything you would be knowing, and I hope that in this way you will enjoy the things. Okay, now democracy requires that all citizens have an equal opportunity to express their opinion. Practically, democracy is the extent to which a given system approximates this idea, and a given political system is referred to as a democracy if it allows certain approximations to the ideal democracy. Although no country has ever granted all its citizens the right to vote, most countries today hold regular elections based on the egalitarian principles, at least in the theory. So this is also important that all citizenship have given the equal opportunities to express their opinion. Democracy is also something like that. And I think that if you understand all these things in integrity way, if you know all these things in a perfect rightful manner, then definitely you would understand the democracy. This is what you have to understand the different perspective of the democracy. Now I am going to discuss about the vast literature is available to describe democracy. According to Przeworski 1986, democracy is a form of realization of the continual conflicts of uncertainty of subjecting all interest to the uncertainty. John Calhoun has described that democracy is not majority rule. Democracy is the diffusion of the power, representation of interest, and recognition. GB stated also said that the democracy is the substitution of election by the incompetent, many for appointed by the corrupt law. So these are the things what the thinkers have been saying. I have already told you that, dear student, please try to understand that what the thinkers are saying, that you have to also understand. And I hope that if you know all this nitty gritty, then your perspective, then your understanding will be better. Next, according to the Oxford Dictionary, democracy is a government by the people, that form of the government in which the sovereign power resides the people as a whole, and is exercised either directly by them or by the officers elected by them. According to Herodotus, democracy is that government in which supreme power of the state is vested in the entire people. This is what we have to understand, that you ultimately, if you look at our constitution, what you can see that we the people of India. So since it is a democratic country, so we are saying that we the people of India. It is written in our constitution, and that is why Herodotus democracy is that the supreme power vests with the people of the land, the people of the country, and we all have made this democracy successful. And that is very true, and that is why I have been saying to you, whatever definition, whatever theories, whatever points you are reading, you have to also analyze that whether this is existing in our society in a positive way, or if it not, then what else, what are the problems that are lacking behind. So I think that if you understand all these things, definitely and definitely it would have a better understanding. This is what you have to understand, so I can make sure that you please try to understand all the nitty-gritty. Next, concept of democracy. Concept of democracy you have to also understand. Democracy comes from Greek word demo and kairos, meaning people and rule. In democracy, it is the people who hold autonomous power over legislature and the government. Democracy is a political form of government in which governing power is derived from the people by consciousness, by direct referendum, or by means of elected representatives of the people, a form of political organization of society based on recognition of the people as the source of power, their right to participate in the resolution of state affairs, and the provisions of a rather broad range of rights and liberties for the citizens. These are the things that you have to also understand, and if you understand about all these concepts, then definitely you would have better position in understanding democracy. So definitely the people, the students who do not have the background of political science, they can also understand these things in a very easy way, because if you look at the easy means what, the demo and chaos means the people and the rule. So this is the very original and the old definition that you can find in the NCERT books also, that you can find in the school books also. It is the people who hold autonomous power, our legislatures, and and the government. Democracy is also a political form of government in which the government power is derived from the people by the consciousness and by direct referendum by means of elected representatives of the people. Form of political organization of society based on recognition of the people as the source of power, the right to participate in the resolution of state affairs. This is what you have to also study. Next, although graduations apply to the world's various democracies, certain principles and the practices differentiated democratic government from other forms of government. These are as under. Democracy is a government in which power and civic responsibilities are exercised by all citizens directly or through their freely elected representatives. Democracy is a set of principles and practices that protect human freedom. It is also the institutionalized of freedom. Democracy rests upon the principles of majority rule, coupled with the individual and minority rights. All democracy, while respecting will be the majority, jealously protect the fundamental rights of the individual and minority groups. So these are the points, these are the things that you have to also understand while dealing with the democracy. I can assure you that every nitty-gritty point of the democracy, I can assure you that these all topics, these all perspective, because in a human science, in a local humanities, rather you have different dimensions. I told you also that you have to look after five W's: why, what, whether, when, which. These are the things that you have to look upon, because these are the things, if you look upon, only then you can understand all this perspective of democracy. Democracy is the rule of law. Democracy is something that where you can realize your dream in a perspective. Democracy is a form of government where every part of the society can have the equal rights, equal opportunities, and you have the equal right as the president and the prime minister of the country does have. What do you mean by this? Because definitely there is some sort of the things are there, and definitely the equality is there, opportunity is there, something is already is there, but definitely democracy is something the best way of the government and best way to cover. That is the philosophy in today's modern life, and definitely there are other ways like the communism ways, like the other ways that you have to also understand. So I can make you understand that please try to make this sure that whether you understood or not. If you understood, let's go ahead. Now you know democracy is guard against all powerful central government. Democracy guard against all powerful central governments and decentralize government to the regional and local levels. Understanding the local government must be an accessible and responsible to the people as possible. Democracy understand that one of their prime functions is to protect such basic human rights as a freedom of speech and religion, the right to equal protection under law, and the opportunity to organize, participate fully in the political, economic, and cultural life of society. Democracies conduct regular, free, and fair elections open to all citizens. Elections in a democracy cannot be facets that dictators or a single party hide behind, but authentic competition for the support of the people. These are the beautiful things that democracy caters. These are the beautiful things that the democracy does have. Suppose you know it is the all powerful central governments and decentralized government to the regional and local levels. Panchayati Raj is one of them. Understanding that local government must be accessible and responsible to the people as possible, and that is why you could have seen that at the grassroots level, at the panchayati level, you could have seen that the people are having great faith, and they are going for their grievances to be solved. The same thing democracy also understand that one of their prime function is to protect such basic human rights as freedom of speech there, religion is there. In a democratic system you can have right to a speech, you can you can have right to express your views. This is what the speech is there. You have also right, whatever the religion you have, whatever the practices you have, whatever faith you have. So these are all the facilities, these all are attributes of the democracy that you have to also understand. The right to equal protection under law and the opportunity to organize and participate fully in the political, economic, and cultural life of society. Definitely, you have every right to adopt whatever the ideology, whatever the political parties you want, whether any national party, regional party, even you have right to form your own party. This is the beauty of the democracy. That every single individual has the right to form the party or to associate with any party or not to associate. So these are the freedoms that you can enjoy. Economic also there, cultural life of a society, you can have the right what you have to start, what not to start. You should go for blue collar jobs or the white collar job or the business activity, entrepreneurship skill, whatever you have choice you can do. None can stop you. You have the every right to flourish yourself. You have every right to develop yourself. You have every right to work according to your choice. But that all depends upon the land of the law and what of the law of land, that is very important. And besides also the set rules are applied for everyone, so it is also applied to you. But in overall, you have every right to explore yourself. You have every right to do the things in an accordingly. So what I can say you, that don't worry, you have to understand all these things. Democracies conduct regular, free and fair elections. What does it mean? That you could have seen that in India also, after 5 years, there is an election of the Lok Sabha and election of the member of Legislative Assembly, that is Vidhan Sabha. What is happening? What is happening after the 5 years? That they get the vote and the largest party or the majority or any coalition which gets the majority, they form the government. So this is the importance, that every 5 years the political parties have go for what? The political parties have go for the winning the confidence of the people, and that is the beauty of democracy. No one can be the dictator, no one can be the any kinds of thing, that if you have owned it is okay, otherwise you could have lived the things. That is the main and important point, and I can understand that this is the beauty of the democracy, and that is why no can be the dictator. Our system cannot be dictated. Democracy valued can be diminished. Democracy power cannot be diminished, and this is the most important factor of the democracy. And that is what the democracy is, something very important for the people who do believe in the liberalism, the people who do believe in the equal opportunities and the function free and fair elections out there. So this is the beauty of democracy, that everyone has to understand. So this is all the perspective. These all perspective you have to know how democracy runs, how democracy works, and these all segments, whether at the panchayati raj level, grassroots level functioning of the administration, whether the free and fair elections have to be conducted, whether it is the freedom of speech and the practice of the religion. These all the attributes, these all elements are very much necessary to understand, and it is possible, it is feasible only in the democracy. Okay, dear students, right. So now I am going to discuss about other part of the democracy. Democracy subjects governments the rule of law, and it also ensures that all citizens receives equal protection under the law and that their rights are protected by the legal system. Democracies are diverse, reflecting each nation's unique political, social, cultural life. Democracies rest upon fundamental principles, not uniform practices. Citizens in the democracy not only have rights, they have the responsibility also to participate in the political system, that in turn protect their rights and freedom. Democratic societies are committed to the values of tolerance, cooperation, and compromise. Democracy recognizes that reaching consensus requires compromise and that it may not be always be attainable. In other words, of Mahatma Gandhi, intolerance is itself a form of violence and an obstacle to the growth of a true democratic spirit. This is also you have to write. And if you write this quotation, that you should not have the intolerance, it is also a form of violent and obstacle to the growth of true democratic spirit. Okay, if you understand all these nitty-gritty points, definitely you would have better understanding of the democracy. Okay, now you know theories of democracy. What are the theories of democracy? Democracy has been emanated from ancient Greece. However, other cultures have considerably contributed to the development of democracy, such as ancient Rome, Europe, and North and South America. The notion of representative democracy arose largely from ideas and the institutions that developed during the European Middle Ages and the Age of Enlightenment and in the American and French Revolutions. Democracy has been called the last form of government and has spread considerably across the globe. The right to vote has been expanded in many jurisdictions over time, from relatively narrow groups such as wealthy men of a particular ethnic group, with the New Zealand the first nation to grant universal suffrage for all its citizens in 1893. So these all points I am going to discuss. The first point, that democracy has emanated from the ancient Greek. Basically, definitely the democracy has emanated from the ancient Greek, that is for true. However, the other cultures have considerably development of democracy, such as ancient Rome, Europe, and North and South America. So slowly, steadily, it had gone to that place also. The notion of representative democracy, also very important, that what form of democracy, the notion of representative democracy is also arose largely from the ideas and the institutions that developed during the European Middle Age and Age of Enlightenment in the American and French. What do you mean by Age of Enlightenment? What do you understand by French Revolution? This is the Age of Enlightenment, when people were having a lot of authors were there. They had a lot of things there, and they wrote something. They wrote some good quality, good piece of books, and through that all enlightenment activity, when anyone bonds and he gets some knowledge, he enlightens. When he receives knowledge, he becomes enlightened. This is the age of enlightenment. Like in our country, when Raja Ram Mohan Rai started Brahmo Samaj, that was the dark age of our Indian society. The people were not educated, people were basically in the agriculture society. They were having only one perspective of life, that most of the people were engaged in doing the business activities, and that too with the agrarian society, just to survive on the earth and just to complete the life cycle. That's all. Most of the part of the country were that kind of thing. Only few people were received education those days, and they started advocating all these things, and that's why from then started, and Raja Ram Mohan Rai started Brahmo Samaj. Through Brahmo Samaj, he started talking of Sati Pratha, he started talking of modern education, he started talking of English education, he started of scientific temperament of mind, and that happens since then it started. And that is why Raja Ram Mohan Rai known as a father of modern India. This is the same thing what happened in the age of the Enlightenment age, in the American and French revolutions. When French revolution started, what we got, the fraternity, what we got, the revolutionary things, what we got, a kinds of freedom and everything out there. The same thing in American happened, American society. So democracy has been called the last form of government, and it is true that it has spread considerably across the globe since beauty of the democracy started. People started thinking of it, or people started knowing it of, and since and slowly and steadily it had grown to the larger part of the world or larger part of the globe. Now, right to vote was also expanded in many jurisdictions. It was also a very much important point, dear students, that right to vote was very much limited to the oligarchy system. It was restricted to the gentry class of the society, or some wealthy man, or a particular ethnic group, and that was restricted to some people and all. But it was the New Zealand, the first nation to grant universal suffrage to all of its citizens who have acquired the minimum quality, minimum quantity, means the rules and everything was there. Whatever the minimum criteria was there. So it was 1893. So just you relate that when Congress was formed in 1885. So right after 8 years, right after 8 years in the New Zealand itself, that this right to vote had given to every single individual who attained that criteria. The beautiful thing, so that was there. So these all things you have to mention in the theory of democracy, and I hope that if you understand all this theory of democracy, it will definitely help. It will definitely help. Okay, dear students, now I am going to discuss about democracy first thrived in the Greek city state. City state in the ancient Greece, Italy, and medieval Europe, an independent political unit consisting of a city, surrounding countryside. The first city state were in Sumer, but they reached their peak in the Greece. This is also you have to mention that it first thrived, it first evolved, it first developed in the Greek city-state. City-state in the ancient Greece, Italy, and medieval Europe, an independent political unit consisting of a city and surrounding countryside. The first city-states were Sumer, but they reached their peak in the Greece. Classical democracy. What is classical democracy? The classical democracy was direct democracy. Athens was the abode of such a democracy. There was, besides Athens, other Greek city-states, but among all the city-state, Athens was most prominent and powerful. Direct democracy in Athens developed in between 800 to 500 BCE, before Christ era. This is what you have to understand. So This is the importance of classical theory. This is all what I am mentioning. It is very important to understand all the nitty-gritty, and I hope that if you understand all this nitty-gritty, it would have a very different and very perfect understanding. Next, there the citizens as a member of the assembly participated directly in the making of their laws. Democracy of this sort was possible only in a small state where the people were politically educated, and it was limited since the majority of inhabitants were slaves or non-citizens. Athenian democracy fell before imperial rule, as did other ancient democracies in Italy, in early Italian cities, and the early church. In this period and in the Middle Ages, ideas such as representatives in the government, the term used to designate the means by which a whole population may participate in governing through the device of having a much smaller number of people act on their behalf. This is what you have to also understand. So I can make you sure that okay, you understand all these things, and please try to understand everything is out there, and whether the citizen of the assembly, whether the democracy, how the imperial rule started, how these ancient democracies in the early Italian cities and early church started in these all Middle Ages, ideas such as representation in the government, the term used to designate the means by which a whole population may participate in governing through the device of having a much smaller number of people act on their behalf. So these are the explanations that you do have to understand. Okay. Now, if you understand all these things, passionately I am teaching you because I do believe that if an educator like me passionately teaches, then definitely it will give a great impact on the minds of learner. Okay. Now I am going to discuss about crucial to modern Western democracy were developed. When the Greeks created the first democracy known to mankind, they envisioned it would be one with citizen participation. Citizens would express their opinions, debate, and vote in a system now called a classical democracy. Athenian democracy, the self-governing governments of Athens, were dependent on three main institutions. These three pillars of democracy were the assembly of the demos of the Council of 500, the People's Court there. There were accompanied by the Council of you know Europeans, the Europeans and the General. This is also very important. Actual legislations involve both the assembly and the council. Ad hoc boards of lawmakers in the 5th century BC. Athens pioneers an experiment in direct democracy as opposed to the representative democracy of modern society. It is also limited by her Greek allies and colonies at the time, but it has rarely been attempted anywhere else. Democracy of this kind has two preconditions. The community must be small enough for citizens to be proficient in attending debates and voting on issues, and its economy must give these citizens enough leisure to engage in politics. In the ancient world, this means that there must be slaves to most of the work. Both circumstances prevails in the Athens. What does it mean if I talk about all these points? So basically these points are reflecting that because of the involvement of the assembly and the council, ad hoc boards of there in the 5th century BC before Christ, Athens was an experiment. The direct, because that time happened, it was the population was very less and people were very less, so it was a direct democracy, as it is said also in the present Switzerland. It is something like that, but it depends. It depends upon the peoples and the demography and the population of a particular state, because now in India it is not feasible because we do have more than 1 billion population. How can you have a direct democracy as opposed to the representative democracy of the modern society? It was totally against the representative because we represent the democracy. We elect our representative through the ballot box or through the EVM system, and that is the part of the modern democracy. It is also limited by her Greek allies that the colonies at that time, but it has also rarely been attempted anywhere else. Democracy is also its kind two preconditions. This is also you have to understand. The community must be small enough for the citizens to be proficient in attending the debates and voting on issues, and its economy must give these citizens enough leaders to engage in politics. In the ancient world, this means that there must be slaves to do most of the work. Both circumstances prevailed in the Athens. This is what you have to also understand. So I can make you sure that if you understand all these nitty-gritty, if you understand all these points, then definitely you can elaborate democracy in a larger perspective. And this is the beauty of democracy that every student has to understand. So next I am going to discuss about the characteristics of Athenian democracy, which represents classical theory. Definitely the classical democracy of Athens assume the form of mass meeting. The Athenians periodically met together to take stock of the situations of the state and make policies and decisions. All the full-time public officials were chosen by the Athenians through lottery or election. The arrangements was made in such a manner that every citizen could get at least once in his lifetime. The scope of participations in the offices of the state, Athenians never hesitated to participate in the affairs of state or to shoulder the responsibility. Officials' positions rotated among all the citizens, and no special training was required to run the administration. This is what you have to also understand that it is because of the full-time public officials by the Athenians through lottery or election. It was made in such a manner that every citizen should get at least one in his lifetime. The scope of participating in the office of the state, it was because the primary thing was that because the population was very less, so that is because of it was possible. Otherwise, it was not possible. So these are the characteristics. These are the features of the Athenian democracy there, so that you have to understand. However, there were special training arrangements for military generals. In this way, the Athenian democracy, representative of classical democracy, worked in ancient Greek. Definitely because military generals were trained in a very perfect and rightful manner. That is there. Principles of classical democracy. What is the principles of classical democracy? The standard of classical democracy for the Athenian democracy are mentioned below. The chief political ideals were equality among all people, liberty and respect for law and justice. Athenians paid high and glowing tribute to justice and law, which is generally called rule of law. That system prevailed in ancient Greece and from there later on ramified in other parts of the globe. It's also very important that you have to also know. Next, because of the because of the these are the points that I am going to mention you. Because of the preventions of equality in Greek city states, all the citizens could get the opportunity to participate in the policy decision making process of the state. Thucydides stated that the ideals and aims of Athenian democracy in an address to the Pericles funeral is also very important. And Thucydides, 463 1990 BC, claimed that the Athenian democracy was unique in the sense that its constitution, system of administration, institutions were not copied from other systems. Rather, the Athenian democracy was a model to be followed by the others. Every Athenian had equal rights to be equally treated by law. Equality before law and equal treatment of law enabled justice to prevail in almost all the spheres of society. Political life was free and open. All the citizens took active interest in the public affairs and naturally they were not at all neglected. Every man showed obedience to law and authority. Disputes were settled among themselves. So I can assure you that everything is possible and anything is possible only when you can do the things. This theoretical dogma of democracy was gripped into several criticisms. Athenian democracy was limited only to a small fraction of population. Male citizens above the age of 20 could take active part in the affairs of the state. The female citizens, irrespective of their qualification, had not the liberty or right to participate in the policy making affairs. So the classical democracy was the democracy of the male citizens or the patriarchs. Women had no civil or political rights. Large number of Athenians were also unentitled to participate in the proceedings of the city states. They were immigrants and slaves. Athens' large number of immigrants lived here, and their contribution to Athenian culture development was not negligible at all. This is also very important that in those days what had happened and the Athens, because most of the people were also immigrant, so the immigrants were not given the right, and yeah, either the immigrants or the slaves, what had happened that they, although they had also contributed in the development culture, Athenian culture, everything, but it was not considered at all. So point is that it was basically a kind of some people, some elite people, they did have a kind of privileged things to vote and to exercise the democratic rights. That was in the first phase of the democracy, and that is why later on it was basically criticized also, and that's the point that that had become one of the criticism points of the democracy system also. But that time it was actually something like that. Okay, that we have to also understand. Okay, dear students. Okay, right, very good, very good. Next, the slaves in in Athens. Slaves in Athens constituted a major part of the whole population, and the Athenian economy and the development rested on their labor. But they were not permitted to take part in the offices and other branches of the state. Treatment meted out to slaves and immigrants does not prove the existence of rights and equality in Athenian society. All inhabitants did not get equal status, and all the opportunities were not open to all. Many scholars stated that Athenian democracy as the operation of the minority. Held has said that the various aspects of the classical democracy can legitimate the questions. This is what you have to also understand. So I can make you sure that if you understand all these things, definitely it will help you. So please try to understand all these things, and let's say that what could happen in a very possible way. Let's say that inhabitants did not get equal status, all the opportunities were not open to all. Many scholars stated that Athenian democracy as the oppression of the minority. These are the things that we have to also understand. Next, I have to also make you sure that Aristotle expansion of democracy. According to Aristotle, the foundation of democratic constitution is liberty. What Aristotle says is a very, very remarkable thing that you have to also understand, that the foundation of democratic constitution is liberty. People constantly make this statement, implying that only in this constitution is there any share in liberty at all. Every democracy has liberty for its aim. Ruling and being ruled in turn is one element of liberty. Aristotle believed that only in democracy ruling and being ruled in turn take place. It is absent in a state which is not democratic. The absence of the opportunity to rule is the symbol of slavery. The absence of the opportunity to rule is the symbol of slavery. He also asserted that in his democracy, equality is to be interpreted numerically and it is not based on the merit. These are the points that you have to also understand, and I hope that if you understand all these things, very good. Next, principles of democracy. What are the principles of democracy? Aristotle has postulated certain fundamental principles of democracy. This may also be called the basic features of the democracy. Following are the fundamental principles. Officials of the city states will come through the elections and all citizens are eligible for all posts or offices. A common rule will operate throughout the state, and this rule is rule over each and each by turn over all. All the citizens are eligible for all posts excepting the post which require a special qualification on experience. So these are the things that are very, very important. Okay, so this is the thing that we have to also understand. Now no tenure of office dependent on the possession of the property qualification is also important. Same man not to hold the same office twice. Man will be allowed to hold office only for once in his lifetime. However, in the field of warfare, this principle will not hold. Aristotle prescribed short tenure of office. Jury courts will be chosen from all the citizens will abdicate on all. Assembly in Greek it was called excelsia will have the sovereign authority over anything except minor matters. So these all things are dependent, and if you look at all these things, that is why even in the America the president can maximum be two tenure, and that is also 4+4. In our India there is no limitation, but definitely the short tenure of the office, that is the 5 years. These are the things that is still it is you can look upon, and you can really extract from all these things. Okay, so this is what you have to also understand. Okay, now these all things by understanding of all things. Next, the payment services in assembly, in law courts, and in the offices shall be regular. Good birth, wealth, culture shall be the marks of the rule of few. The opposite shall be the rule of the many. Perpetual tenure of office is not favored by democracy. This is what you have to also understand. So I can make you sure that if you understand all these things, you have a better understanding. Protective democracy. What is the protective democracy? First of all, the main subject. What is the protective democracy? The main subject of classical democracy was the participations of all people in the processes of the state, and the Athenians were the classical democracy flourished most prominently. It is also believed that they could achieve equality. Classical democracy was equality in respects of rights and privileges. But the protective democracy emphasized different aspects. According to Haywood, democracy was seen less as a mechanism through which public could participate in political life, and more as a device through which citizens could protect themselves from the encroachments of the government. Hence protective democracy. This is also very important, and I can assure you that if you understand this thing, it is going to help you. Next, in this viewpoint, democracy has been regarded as a means at the disposal of individuals, which they can use to safeguard their rights and liberty. In ancient Greece, many intellectuals had the idea about protections of rights and liberty. Plato supposed that the rule of guardian class could serve the purpose properly, but Aristotle inquired who will guard the guardians. From all these ideas, protective democracy emerged. Origin of the protective democracy. Origin of democracy as an instrument of the protecting human rights and liberties can suitably be traced to the late 17th and the early 18th century. This is also very important. So these all protective rights and the origin of protective right had to be understood also. Next, John Locke. John Locke is also as the great champion of the protective democracy. And what I can suggest all the students, that whenever you study anything, whenever you write any philosopher name, you should also write like this. That's 1631 1704. He is regarded as the great advocate of the protective democracy. A civil society based on democratic principles was created through the instrumentality of the social contract to shield the right of life, liberty and property, and guarantee pursuance of the happiness. James Madison also supported this type of democracy. So another person, Mr. James Madison, you have to also write about him. The three proponents of utilitarianism also explained the protective democracy. They were Jeremy Bentham, this period James Mill, and John Stuart Mill. The utilitarianism was powerfully advocated in the favor of protective democracy. The theme of utilitarianism was safeguard the right, liberty, and opportunity. And these are the basic principles of the democracy. These are the points. These are the thinkers. What they said. You have to also mention all these points very large manner. This must be protected at any cost. According to this theorist, democracy was the best form of government which could guarantee this. Bentham James Mill and his philosopher son contended. Bentham James Mill and his philosopher son contended that only in democracy all sorts of individual interests could be protected and advanced. Like Locke, Madison, Bentham, and Mills supported the principles of protective democracy. and it is an aspect of liberal democracy. In their hands, this received best treatment. In fact, Bentham and Mills were the representative philosophers of protective democracy. So, this is the beautiful thing that you have to understand, and how you look at this sentence. Locke, Madison, Bentham, and Mills supported principles of protective democracy, and it is an aspect of liberal democracy. This is what you have to also understand. If you understand all these things, definitely it will help you in a better way. Next, what are the features of protective democracy? You have to understand this also. The following are the basic features of protective democracy. Protective democracy believes in popular sovereignty. But since people cannot directly take part in the process of a state, they do it through their representative. Very true, because in our society, or like in India, 1 billion population is living. How it is possible that you can do direct all these things? So you have to represent your in the elections, like as an MLA or as an MP. Both the popular sovereignty and representative form of the government are legitimate. They must be legitimate. It is primarily due to of the state to protect the rights and liberties of the citizens, and whether it is properly performed or not, people keep a strong vigilance over the functions of state. Authority is accountable to the people, and in order to establish it, elections are held on regular basis. There are also other ways of establishing accountability. Significant way of protecting the rights, liberties, and the distribution of privileges is the division of powers among legislature, executive, and judiciary. This is done in all the democratic system. These are the features of protective democracy that you have to understand, and if you know all these features in a perfect and rightful manner, then definitely it will help you in the understanding of protective democracy. Liberal democracies, there is a dominance of constitutionalism. Both the ruler and the ruled are controlled by the principles laid down in the constitution. Definitely, like in our country, what is happened, that what is written in the constitution, that has to be accepted by the ruler also, or the ruled also, whoever in the power or whoever in the opposition. I mean, everyone has to follow the rule of law, and if he doesn't obey the law, then he will be sent behind the bar, he will be punished. That is the point. Constitution is also the source of power for all its guarantor of rights and liberty. There are also measures to prevent the violation of rights and liberty. Organizations, associations, groups have enough freedom, and they always act as friends of citizens and fight against any violation of rights or encroachment on liberty. Competition in all spheres is a feature of protective democracy. Clear distinction between a state and civil society is strictly preserved. So, these are the things that you have to understand, and if you understand all these things, only then it is possible. Next, the modern democracy. Modern democracy, you have to also understand, the Western governments are called democracy. Democracy only works if voters are active and informed. No, now modern democracy has found deep change as and revolutions in ideal and practice. It has a wide variety of elements. Modern democracy is drafted to fit the modern political life of humankind. Major features of modern democracy. To preserve modern democracy, a country needs to fulfill some basic requirements. They need not only written down in its constitution, but must make kept in everyday life by the politicians and the authorities. Guarantee of basic human rights to every individual person vis-a-vis state and its authorities, as well as vis-a-vis social groups, especially the religious institutions and other persons. If you understand all these things, what does it mean? That everyone has to understand, and I hope that if you understand all these things, then definitely it would have a better position. Next, separation of powers between the institutions of the state, government, executive power, parliament, and the courts of law, judicative power. Freedom of opinion, speech, press, and mass media. Religious liberty should be there. General and equal right to vote, one person, one vote. Good governance, focus on public interest and absence of corruption. Majority rule is labeled as a characteristic feature of democracy, but without governmental or the constitutional protections of individual liberties, it is possible for a minority of individuals to be troubled by the tyranny of the majority. It is also said. These are the points that you have to also take care all the time, because I think that in a nutshell, if you sum up all these things, then I can say in a sentence that democracy is a form whether you require separate powers between the institution, be it the executive, legislative, judiciary. There must be the freedom of opinion, press freedom, and that is also inserted in the Article 19(1)(a). Religious liberty must be there. You can have your religious liberty, you can have your own things, and the equal rights of vote there. Good governance is there. Majority rules, and as it is so, since it is majority rules, so what happens? That it is the tyranny of the majority over minority, because they are not into the power. These are the things that it is the features of the modern democracy, and it is to be understood by you. Next, an essential process in representative democracy is competitive elections that are fair both substantially and procedurally. Additionally, freedom of political expression, freedom of speech, freedom of press are indispensable so that inhabitants are informed and able to vote in their personal interest. Very true, because in the democratic system, what happens after every 5 years, as per the set of the rules, the elections are being conducted and every individual is being informed with different channels. Popular dominion is common but not a universal motivating subjects for establishing a democracy. In some countries, democracy is based on the logical principle of equal rights. Many people use term democracy as a shorthand for liberal democracy. May include additional elements such as political pluralism, equality before the law, the right to petition elected officials for redress of grievances, due process, civil liberties, human rights, and elements of civil society outside the government. These are the things that you have to also understand. So if you understand all these things, then definitely you will truly understand the democracy. Next, in the United States, separation of power is often named as supporting attribute, but in other countries such as UK, the dominant philosophy is parliamentary sovereignty. In other cases, democracy is used to mean direct democracy. Freedom of speech is the basis of democracy. Governments are held responsible by free speech. Every decision must have a reason. Every cent must be accountable. Bad decisions are punished at election time. The free flow of information allows both people and government to make the best informed decisions. So this is the things that you have to understand, right? Okay. These are the things, and now democracy consists of four basic elements. These are the very important, like the political systems and choosing the. These all things are protection of active participation of the people, protection of the human rights of all citizens, rule of law. These all things are very important. Democracy as a political system of competition of power, and definitely there is a competition of power. Regular, free, and fair elections are there. Government is based on consent of the government governed, and democracy is all about the people's verdict to be received. These are the things. Election have to be at regular intervals. For elections to be free and fair, all parties must have the right to campaign freely and to present their proposals to the voters both directly and through mass media. Voter must be able to vote in secret, and independent observers must be able to observe. There needs to be some impartial and independent tribunal to resolve the disputes. These are participations there. Definitely all the participations must be there. Major participations must there. So participations must be there. All things. The rights of citizens in democracy are definitely a lot of rights available for the citizens. There is freedom and pluralism in the mass media. Definitely, opinion, read, everything is out there, so they can also have a lot of mass media. Rule of law. Democracy is a system where rule of law not by the people, that is also very true, and the limits and requirements for the democracy, it is also very true. So different models of democratic, like the representative models of democracy, this is also very important. So these all things you have to also study. In the next class we will discuss a lot of important topics that are very important. So before winding up the class, I must say my code is RJ01. If you apply RJ01, you will have 10% discount, and my telegram link is Rakesh 7 Jha, Rakesh Jha Discourse Academy. Before winding up this class, I have to say all of you that, dear students, that please try to understand the political science in such a way. In this lecture, I have discussed the democracy in a very lucid manner, in a very attractive manner, and I have also said you that how to read democracy, how to wind up democracy, what thinkers and these theorists have said, what the philosopher had said, their views, their years, their theories, their sayings, their proverbs, everything you have to remember, and you have to also correlate all this theory to our contemporary system, and you have to look that what are the beautiful things, what are the lacunas, what are the shortcomings, and keeping that thing you have to write the answer, you have to grow your knowledge. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you must have enjoyed the topic. Okay, thank you very much, take care, see you, and bye bye. If you have any problem, you can also contact through my channel, telegram channel. Once again,